Hi everyone, welcome back. I just need to be very honest with you. No lies, no sugarcoating, no BS. I swear if I see one more video online that tells the audience that one can learn how to speak English like a native speaker within a very short amount of time, I think I'm going to drive myself nuts. I have mentioned this many times in my videos, and if you have been watching my videos for a certain amount of time, you know some of my philosophies or beliefs in how we can improve our English. And you will know that I've touched upon this so many times, it's not impossible. So if someone asks me right now, hey, is there any way I can improve my English so that I can go from barely being able to speak a few sentences to talking so fluently as if I was a native speaker? And my answer would almost always be no. It's impossible. There's no way. That said, I do recognize that every one of us is at a slightly different level when it comes to our language proficiency. Some people might be slightly better with their spoken English. Some people might have slightly better pronunciation. In the most general sense, I would say, given the time that most of us have on a regular basis, no. You're not going to be able to go from beginner or beginner-like level to native-like level within a short amount of time. I will give my own example here. Now, I don't consider myself, more talented than most people. I think I'm very average. And like I mentioned in my previous video, I did study English at university. So I consider the years that I actually made those huge progress were from the beginning of my university all the way until now. And compared with many of my other peers, I think I belong to the group who actually had the time and the resource to invest in English learning. I was at university, that was my major, that's all I studied all day long. And after I graduated, when I started working, I was very fortunate to be working in an international school. So I had to work alongside with a bunch of English-speaking teachers. So I had to sometimes translate for them, and there's a lot of liaison stuff going on between me and the foreign teachers. So there was a lot of practice there. So I would consider my experience, slightly different from most of the other people, because I find that a lot of people don't have nearly as much time or just don't have the same kind of opportunities as I did to be able to practice their English, even if they had invested as much time studying. So I would say it's pretty fair for me to give myself as an example. And even with my practice, even with the time that I've spent in university and afterwards, the practice that I had when I was working, and up till this point, I've been in Canada for about, I got here in 2019, so it's about 5 years. Not that I was outside speaking English with other people all the time, but I've had my share of practice, and even until this point, I wouldn't call myself native-like level because there's still so many things that I don't know, and every day I'm still learning new things. So from the time when I entered university, which was in 2007, until this point, 2024, we are in right now, it has been 17 years, and I am still learning. And even at the point when I graduated from university, I still wasn't confident enough in my spoken English. I still struggled a bit when I actually needed to use it with another human being. I needed to translate for meetings and things. I needed to speak with Canadian teachers on a regular basis, talking to them about about some student issues, all those kind of things. So I actually had to use it fairly regularly in a professional setting. And even then, I felt like, especially at the very beginning, that my spoken English was insufficient. So I put in more time, I put in more practice, and gradually I grew more and more fluent and more confident in myself. And even till this point, you would think by the time when I arrived in Canada in 2019, I would be, at my absolute best. But that wasn't the case. Even after I got here, it took me quite some time to get around, with no problem understanding people. And that has a lot to do with some of the languages that are more commonly used locally. But I'll give you an example. The jobs that I have worked in Canada, I still had to make conscious efforts into improving that particular category of vocabularies. For example, I worked as a sales consultant in a local furniture store. So I had to learn all about furniture, how to introduce furniture to clients, how to describe them in a way that's more enticing, that encourages them to buy. But then when I started to work at a local university, it was a completely different scenario because I was in a different industry. I was doing a lot of admission documentation, reading through students' files, trying to make decisions, things like that. So it was a completely different story. So please do not believe anyone when they tell you that, hey, I'm going to help you improve your spoken English or improve your English in general in a short amount of time, because it's not possible. Either they're outright lying to you or telling you something that they don't even believe is true themselves, or they're over-promising you for something that they're not going to be able to deliver in the end. Because there's simply so much to English learning. That's why I kept emphasizing in my videos, okay, if you say you want to improve your English, which part specifically are you trying to improve? Or what is your particular goal at this moment? Are you trying to pass an exam? Are you trying to prepare for a particular job-related events? Are you trying to prepare for an upcoming trip? Because understanding why you are improving your English, understanding where you're going to use it, or which area are you most desperately wanting to improve, is going to give you very straightforward directions as to what you need to do right now. And I know we all want to believe that there is something that we can do to change our situation overnight. And trust me, a lot of times I do fantasize things about that. But at the end of the day, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to just sit down and say to ourselves, hey, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. Let's look at what I have done so far. Let's see where I am right now and how far am I currently from my goal. Ask yourself these questions first, because simply by watching a generic video about how to improve your English so that you can speak English like a native speaker in a few months is not going to give you any valuable information other than giving you false hope. Because maybe the practice that's mentioned there, you've already done it, or the things that mentioned there, you haven't done it, but it doesn't really fit into your situation. So you really need to have a good knowledge of where you are, where you want to be, how much time, how much resource you have before you are able to develop or craft any genius plan to get there. It takes time, doesn't matter where you are starting off, and it takes a lot of conscious efforts on your part to slowly build up your progress. So I'm going to leave it at that.